What's up, YouTube? It's your buddy Troy here. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to talk about some common blocks to fat loss. If you've been struggling to lose a few pounds, if you've been working on dropping some body fat and you're running into a roadblock, it's probably because of one of these things we're going to talk about in this video. So if you're struggling, the invitation is to stick around. If you're new to the channel, my name is Troy. I'm a former fat guy, and I'm sharing my story with other people with the hope that it might help someone on their journey. And if you support me in doing that, what I ask is you take a second to subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it means the world to me. And for everyone who's out there just killing it, because I know there's a lot of you guys who have it figured out and you're on your way and you're doing a great job, the invitation is to pay it forward in the comments. I'd love to hear what's working well for you, and the chances are you can help somebody else by sharing. So today I want to talk about three things, and those three things are: number one, self-doubt; number two, social programming or societal programming; and number three, addiction to comfort. And I feel like a lot of times when someone's having trouble on their weight loss, their fat loss, their body transformation journey, they are struggling in one or all of those areas. So I thought we could talk about them and it might help you. So, number one, self-doubt. So what I notice for me when self-doubt comes up is it's paralyzing. And I'm a little bit of a procrastinator. I don't know about you, but self-doubt will get you in that procrastination zone, right? You're spinning the wheels. You're not making any progress. And so, what are some ways to get around self-doubt? And one thing that I would recommend is to just start, do something, right? Have you ever heard of the expression that, how do you say it? Perfection is the enemy of progress. In other words, you're so critical of yourself and you don't want to make any mistakes and you want it to be perfect. So you plan and plan and plan and plan and plan and plan, and you never execute, you never try. And what people will tell you, what I find myself is that I have to try. I just have to do something. Something is better than nothing. And then maybe it doesn't work, or maybe I have to adjust. But when it doesn't work, or when I do have to adjust, I get feedback, and so I can build off of that, and I'm making progress. When you're just thinking about something, right? When you're analyzing and over analyzing, you don't make any progress. And so the invitation is to obliterate self-doubt. It's going to be there, right? We're going to doubt ourselves, and but we have to work through that. We have to make progress towards the thing. So just start, right? And one of the ways that we sometimes open ourselves up to self-doubt is by oversharing, talking about what you're trying to do, revealing your plans, talking too much too soon, particularly in the early phases. Think of your new idea almost as like a seed, right? And so you have to protect the seed. You have to plant it, and you have to put a fence around it, and you have to protect it from the harsh elements, right? The rain, the wind, the snow, stuff like that. If you don't protect your new idea or your seed, then something eats it, or it gets crushed or killed, or it gets blown away by the wind, and it perishes as a result of the elements because you didn't protect it. So be careful how much you share when you're starting on your journey, because you're very vulnerable to self-doubt, not believing in yourself, particularly in the beginning. And when you tell people what you're trying to do, if that person is not me and they're not supportive, which I hate to tell you, but a lot of the closest people in your life are not going to support you on your body transformation journey, because it's easier for them if you just stay the same person. Now, it's not because they hate you, and I don't want to rabbit hole on this, but all I'm trying to tell you is that if you want to destroy self-doubt, be careful around oversharing. I would recommend that you keep your plans private. Keep them to yourself. Be silent. Don't share, because when you do that, you open yourself up to criticism. You open yourself up to a lot of bad advice. People are going to, coming from a good place, they're going to tell you what they think you should be doing. And oftentimes that creates a lot of uncertainty. So be careful with that. Develop a strategy for maybe keeping it close to the vest, as they say. Don't overshare, because you're going to get a lot of feedback, right? Most people, when they come to you with feedback, it's coming from a good place. They want to help you, but whatever it is that they tell you, right, it's just more noise in your head. Oftentimes it's not helpful. Oftentimes it's misdirection. It gets you off track. But there are the rare occasions when people will come with criticism. People will come with, well, what if this and that? And that creates more self-doubt. And you find yourself in a position where you have to explain, you have to apologize. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for what you have to do on this journey. And one of the ways that you can get around having to waste all of that energy, guys, self-doubt leaks your power. It drains your energy, right? Every time you have to explain what it is that you're doing, it's like, boop, you're just like, you're pouring out your energy and you only have so much of it. And you would be wise to put it towards what you have to do. On this journey, there's going to be some other things that are hard, right? Diet, exercise. We're not even going to talk about this stuff in this video, because really what we're talking about is strategy and how you can set yourself up for success. And a way that you can do that is by eliminating self-doubt. And one way that you can do that is by having a why that is very strong. Having a why that powers you. Let's say that I pour out all my energy, right? Explaining, boop, I pour it all out, it's gone. But you know what? My why is so strong that it refills my cup. And that's what you need. So what's your why? Here's another way of thinking about that. What can you not tolerate for a moment longer? What is it that you cannot tolerate for a moment longer? That's your why. Hold on to that. Use that as fuel. But be careful about oversharing. Stop apologizing. Stop explaining. Start now. Try something. Get some feedback. Make some adjustments and reiterate. That means that you got feedback and you're not quitting. You're just changing a little bit and you're still going. But you need to start. You need to start now. So self-doubt, that's one. Number two, societal programming. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I do feel like there is such a thing as people maybe being afraid of being alone. Let's call it that. Being afraid of standing alone, of independent thought. There's something about society that beats you down, and it kind of like, it keeps you small, and it wants you to be obedient. And in that obedience, you lose touch with yourself, because we're all different and we all have a little voice inside of us that maybe is telling us, hey, you know what? In order for you to be happy, you need to do this thing, X, Y, Z. In order for you to change your body, you need to eat this way. You need to do this type of exercise. You need to sort of live this type of lifestyle. And when you do those sorts of things, you find yourself oftentimes standing alone, because society, well, most of society is overweight, and so the things that they're doing, if we do those things, we're going to be like them, and we don't want to be like that anymore, right? Former fat guy here lived that life. Don't recommend it. So what I noticed on my journey was that when I decided to start making changes, I paid the price in terms of, I don't want to say, losing friendships or relationships or anything like that. But you have to be okay being a little bit weird on this journey, right? Because not everybody is in great shape. If you want to get in great shape, then guess what? Then you're going to be a small percentage of the people. And that means that you're a little bit weird. You're not like the rest of the people, and you need to be okay with that. So I think that it's a natural inclination for us to want to fit in, because it probably has to do with survival. I'm sure that, that's a survival instinct for us. If we are not accepted by the tribe, then that means that we will perish. But, you know, belonging has a price. Belonging has a price. And if this journey of improving your physique is important to you, then the price that you might have to pay is you may have to go against your tribe. You may have to stand alone. And, in that solitude, right, that might actually be the place where you can plant that seed in order for this sort of new idea to thrive, for you to sort of change your identity and start to believe in yourself without all that external societal noise. Or you really have to get good at just being okay with other people thinking that you're weird, right? So, yeah, I highly recommend that. But the final thing, guys, is addiction to comfort. So I'll use myself as an example. I have a propensity for or struggle with sometimes overeating. I just want to eat everything. There's a little fat kid inside me that just he tugs on my sleeve when I walk past the Cheesy Poofs in the grocery store. And so I acknowledge that little fat kid, but I can't follow his instructions because he's telling me to eat the Cheesy Poofs. And I can't let that little fat kid be in charge. So for me, what happens is when I go against that, I feel a little bit of friction, right? Something tells me to eat the thing, or maybe I have a hard day at work. Maybe I'm just like, I'm feeling a little bit off. Maybe I'm tired, let's say. And what I want to do is I want to lean into food for comfort. And so without going down a rabbit hole around emotional eating, I would say that in order to be successful with this here, guys, if you're trying to change your body, particularly if you're trying to lose some weight, I lost over 100 pounds. And in the beginning of that journey, one of the things that was really hard for me to do was learning how to eat less. Like I said, I want to eat everything. And so when I started to, via various mechanisms, which we'll talk about in some other videos, I started to eat less. And when I did that, well, guess what? I experienced what we could call friction. It was uncomfortable. I wasn't used to that feeling of hunger, right? Maybe just going to bed with that, as opposed to just like I don't know, what would you call that? It's almost like self-medicating. You're self-medicating that hunger feeling with food. Oh my gosh, there's that hunger. And it's like I put food in my face, almost like I'm taking an aspirin for a headache or something. But the idea is if we're talking about hunger as being almost like an uncomfortable sensation, which for some people it is, we need to learn how to sit with that discomfort. Exercise is particularly uncomfortable a lot of times, right? There's some exercises that feel good over time. It's really taken me a long time to learn how to enjoy the feeling of exerting myself through exercise. It doesn't feel good for everyone. We could say that some of that feels a little bit uncomfortable. Well, guess what, guys? That's part of this journey. You need to integrate that into this process if you're going to be successful. If you haven't been living under a rock, and like I said, this video isn't about diet and exercise. But when you make changes in your diet from what's comfortable for you now, in this place where you're not happy with how you look, you don't like your physique right now, right? So you want to make some changes in your diet. You have to exercise a little bit. As soon as you make those changes, you're going to feel some friction. That's going to feel uncomfortable. And you have to learn how to lean into that if you're going to be successful. And I'm not talking about being sadistic. I'm not talking about being crazy. I'm just talking about like a moderate, average, kind of everyman's approach here. Just for the average kind of guy. I don't particularly consider myself to be like highly motivated. I would say I'm more on the lazy spectrum. All right, I have that propensity for leaning into comfort. And I feel like that's a survival thing as well. I feel like human beings have a survival instinct that makes us want to lean into comfort because that's how you do survival. But In modern times, we're not carrying our water or hunting for our food or growing our food. We got a lot of different challenges that we're dealing with. And so I feel like since there are not those sort of natural discomforts, right? Like most of us have, we're talking on the internet right now, so we have power and heat and climate control, and most of us don't ever experience things like cold or heat. But we can lean into those as well in terms of learning how to tolerate discomfort via sauna, cold plunging, and again, exercise, cutting back on how much you're eating. Those things are not always comfortable, but learning how to tolerate that and maybe even learning how to enjoy it a little bit, learning how to enjoy some of those sensations, that can really be a big step. Once you can start to learn how to enjoy some of this stuff, you start to become addicted to the process and the progress. Once you start making that progress, then it really makes all the difference in the world. It's hard in the beginning because you suffer and you don't see the progress. But I'm excited for you guys to start seeing some progress. And I know you can make it. If you've watched this far, I appreciate you. Take a second to smash that subscribe button. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.